Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding our first healthcare subcommittee hearing on this very critical topic, the illicit drug threats that are plaguing our constituents through fentanyl-related substances that have flooded through our borders, unfortunately. I'm thankful that President Trump has taken quick action to address the border crisis. I'm proud to join Representative Griffith and Latta in support of the Halt Fentanyl Act, which would finally classify fentanyl-related substances as a Class 1 drug and give law enforcement the certainty it needs to fight back against drug traffickers, long overdue. And while we're trying to keep pace with this evolving landscape, new threats continue to emerge, unfortunately. I'm proud to co-lead the Combating Illicit Xylazine Act with my good friend August Pfluger and Jimmy Panetta, which would schedule xylazine as a Schedule III drug under the Controlled Substance Act. While the animal drug xylazine has horrific side effects in human use, it prolongs the effects of fentanyl, making it extremely dangerous on the streets. Our bipartisan legislation strikes a key balance to provide more tools while maintaining legitimate use for veterinarians and others who use this drug safely without diversion in large animals. So my first question is for Sheriff Bouchard. You touch upon the emerging threat of xylazine and other new drugs in your testimony. Can you elaborate why it's critical from a law enforcement perspective to keep, as you say, and I quote, a more agile regulatory framework so we can address these threats faster and more effectively?
Thank you. Well, I guess it also touches on what we just talked about. When you have a nation state involved that has the resources and the capability to create laboratories and factories that can quickly change one component of what they're making in a lab and then suddenly make it legal, or have a different kind of thing that they can send in, suddenly we're dealing with something we're not aware of because they changed it in a lab and it's landing in our laps. And that's how I found out about xylazine hitting a different state, asked our lab, and it was already there. And that's the kind of nimbleness we need to be capable of dealing with when you have somebody that's intentionally of a nation state status allowing that to occur.
Thank you very much. Over the years during this overdose crisis, we've sadly seen time and time again parents who were prescribed opioids for legitimate purposes. I said parents, I meant patients, but still parents and kids, what have you, like a surgery or injury, but often go down on paths towards illicit or diverted pills and even fentanyl once they're addicted. And, this is the majority of the cases, in my opinion. Our committee has worked on policies that incentivize non-opioids, and I've long been interested in encouraging alternative therapies to pain management. I'm glad to see that last week the FDA approved the first in-class non-opioid alternative for acute pain. So, Dr. Westlake, you testified about your inspiration after the tragedy of your friend's son, who was a victim of this trend of getting hooked on legitimate prescriptions, which led to worse illicit options, such as heroin. I believe this contributes to further illegal fentanyl crossing our southern border, and we should work towards methods to cut off the demand here wherever plausible. Would you agree that patient access to additional pain management tools beyond opioids are an important component of addressing the illicit drug threats in a comprehensive way? And we've made some changes in the VA, but we've got to do more. So if you could answer that question, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think opioids should be the last medication used. I normally tell my patients to use Tylenol and ibuprofen at prescription strength, which has been shown as effective as oxycodone for acute fracture pain, and then at nighttime only to take opioids if needed. That they're going to be in pain from the surgery or from the fracture. You got to kind of get through that, but they don't want to end up hooked on opioids, because half of the people that got hooked on opioids didn't start by trying to get high.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Collins, thank you for being here to tell your story, and I'm so sorry to hear about Zachary. I want to highlight an important part of your testimony when you say most kids are not addicts. I believe that. they are stressed and anxious, and that social media provides a platform for kids to easily purchase drugs online, which get laced with fentanyl and lead to overdose poisoning. I'm committed to holding big tech social media accountable for enabling this on their platform. Can you share your perspective on this and what suggestions you might have to curb this horrific trend? Because we are going to refile COSA, and I want as much input as possible. Please.
Yes, thank you for your question. Yes, we talked to several of Zach's friends afterwards, and they told us how easy that it could be, that you could order prescription pills, prescription strength pills off Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, that sort of thing, delivered right to your house. I think what I spoke about in my testimony was that we would like to see PSAs, but the PSAs need to be directed at the platforms that they're utilizing, not ABC News, NBC News. That's not where they're getting their information from. I think it needs to be targeted, and I've seen some ad council ads for drunk driving in the past week or so. I think that it needs to be something that needs to be elevated.
Good suggestion. Thank you very much. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.